Welcome back to Sitting with Spirit, the part of the podcast where I sit with our angels, our guides, our loved ones in spirit, and give the messages for the collective. Take what resonates with you, take what feels like a yes in your heart space, and leave the rest. So, starting off, as always, with the angel messages. As I started to tune into the energy of the collective, I immediately, which this is very common, felt blocks in the throat and the crown chakras. And when I was tuning into the block of the throat chakra, the best way I could explain it was like this consciousness covered in quicksand. And it just felt like we kept feeling heavy and sunken under. And it's almost this interesting feeling where this deep down higher self observer voice is like, this isn't working for us. We know that our thoughts are going to dark places. We know we have to do things to support ourselves, but then this quicksand feeling feels like it's like sucking us under into this place of despair or disillusionment or frustration or confusion and dread. And so the message that I got here was that we have to use music to shift our frequency. It feels like giving it more thought in terms of cerebralizing things or trying to make sense of it or logic or reason things out feels like it just sucks us deeper into that quicksand feeling with our thoughts. I feel this is definitely tied to social media. This is definitely tied to our collective consciousness right now. But there's just this feeling of getting sucked in and sucked under. And I just got this message of working with music to shift. And that's what felt like it would dispel that quicksand energy is this sense of music as a frequency raiser. And then with that, there was also this throat constriction. The throat chakra also felt this really just a hard time connecting with our truth, speaking our truth. Everything just gave me this like constricted feeling. And these are the two energy centers that are most commonly blocked in my personal practice and in the collective when I tune in. It makes a lot of sense why we're feeling like a crown chakra block. Of course, I'm recording this like a month before it will come out, but I feel like with the throat constriction, so the crown chakra needs music and the throat chakra to open needs community and needs people that it can sort of share and blend with and be heard in. So music and community are two forces that are here to like be in our toolbox and open us up and help us. That being said, when I was tuning into the energy of this week, there's a juxtaposition between two very different energetic forces. And the one is that sort of confusion, existential dread, heaviness, sort of bleakness, and that quicksand energy, and that constricted energy, and that fearful energy. But then I also felt the presence of our angels stepping in. And I saw this warm, golden, angelic light. And I just felt like this phoenix energy of the old ashes shedding, the new being reborn, and of such support. And another key word is activation. I feel like our angels and guides are stepping in really close, and they're not just stepping in close to be this like ineffable concept of support. They're stepping in to activate us and push us into aligned action. Like it's time to move forward. And I felt the fire energy, the fire element energy connected to that. And I felt this warmth. I felt this passion. I felt this power behind that. And so I think if you're in a place where you're feeling really constricted and confused and in that quicksand type of energy, meditate with this angelic golden firelight around you. Just imagine that warm light of golden angelic energy just blanketing you from the top of your head down to your feet and back up, and picture that fire element and allow it to activate you and motivate you and push you forward with aligned action in alignment with your heart and your higher self. With that being said, I was also seeing my symbol of books and writing and learning, and I feel like right now is this moment as well to like follow your curiosity, to learn more about what interests you, as well as on the flip side of that, writing and sharing your voice in a really unique, authentic way. And then I actually felt called to pull two tarot cards, which I don't usually do for sitting with spirit. But of course, I pulled the King of Wands, which is the king of the fire element. And this is such a fire element Like the fire element feels like the solution right now. It feels like the heaviness and everything is tied to more of that constricted, limited, boundaried, like status quo energy. And the fire element feels fresh and new and brave and passionate. And like it wants to push us forward into this rebirth. And so the King of Wands is basically here to be like, lead by example, follow your passion, step into holding your life to a higher standard for yourself and creating action steps to grow that and build that and promote that. I do feel like the King of Wands is also really tied to a collective up level energy that I'm feeling, where it's like we just cannot accept things that we used to historically accept anymore. And we just have to like step up in this very integrous fire element way. And I feel like the fire element is also very tied to this idea of chivalry. I feel like the fire element has a strong moral code. That's why it can get very fiery and reared up when things are not living in alignment with that code. And that's a beautiful part of the fire energy. People that I know with a lot of fire in their chart, they do have just this purity as well and this simplicity in their moral code. And so I get this feeling that, like, that chivalry, honor system, that sense of fire and creativity and passion and motivation and energy, that's all part of it. But then the king element of this card is like taking it to a higher standard, expecting higher, and being in your leadership within that fire element. And then I also pulled the Knight of Cups, which is the like messenger card for the water element. So it's a really interesting synchronicity here with the water and fire, because we're going through this birth canal of Pisces into Aries, and a lot of planets are doing that dance this year. And that's what it feels like. Like the water element is okay. The Knight of Cups is bringing new opportunity. It's bringing spirituality. It's bringing flow. Water is very tied to like release and feeling your feelings and shedding, so that there's room for that fire to burst forward and initiate new things. And so this kind of back and forth between the water element and the fire element is coming up very strongly, which is very interesting because that's mostly me, water and fire, in my birth chart. So I look forward to seeing what's happening this week when it comes out. And so the Knight of Cups is asking us to dive into the unknown, to go on new journeys, to follow our daydreams, our GPS of our heart space, and where our emotions are taking us. And the two feel like they're working together in tandem. And so there might be like new opportunities this week. There might be areas for making your life more romantic, living in this main character energy, like just more space for love and spirituality and that dreamy creative energy. Those are really the two like sort of forward momentums. When I feel into that quicksand crown chakra energy, it's trying to keep us stuck and blocked and in the same old limiting beliefs. And this Knight of Cups and this King of Wands are the energy that's like, no, no, no. We're moving forward, we're flowing, and we're trying new energetic strategies while we're at it that hold our lives to higher standards. And so, with that being said, I want to move into the mediumship connection. I had a young lady in spirit come to me. She felt like a sister energy. So she would have been somebody who was either a sister or like a sister. And she was showing me like a passion for the water, a passion for being on the water. I saw a longboard, like surfboard. I was seeing boats. And I got an MA name with her, like Martha or Mary or Margaret, something MA was coming through. And I got that she grew up on kind of like a rural farm type of area, but moved closer to the water because she was obsessed with the water. And when I felt into her personality was very calm, very grounded, very chill. And it just seemed like she was pretty simple and being happy with where she was, just being with the water, being in nature. Like she seemed like she had a really happy life and was happy with the simple things while she was here. I also felt with her that she would have been like in her 20s when she passed. I was seeing a clada ring, which was interesting. And then she was also showing me that she was with a brown dog in the spirit world. And then I was also seeing, as I was tapping into her, I was feeling this pain on the left side of my head. She was really highlighting that. And I felt like a lot of pain in my head. And so her main message is not living your life for other people, because I feel like her family kind of expected her to like stay at home, like take over the family business, live the life that was set out for her. And a big part of what made her soul happy was to move to a land that lit her up. And that leads to the second part of her message, which is moving where your heart feels alive. And I almost feel like there's this sense of her soul coming into this family that's asking her to be okay with just a mediocre existence by her standards, because her family was happy in the farm and not by the ocean, but that wasn't fulfilling for her. And I feel like sometimes our soul incarnates into these opportunities where the people around us are not seeing life the same way we see it or holding their life to the same standard we hold our lives to. And it's like, okay, are you really going to shake things up? Is it really that bad? But it's not even about it being that bad. It's that it could be amazing. And so there's also a message here. I feel like some people in the collective are thinking about moving and going places that light them up, going to different terrains that call to their soul, going closer to nature. This spirit is like, do it and don't wait. And she passed young, and she's so happy that she didn't wait to live a life that lit her up. She was giving me this feeling of when it was my time to pass, I had no regrets. And that was such a beautiful feeling for her, because she loved her life and she was living in a way that was authentic to her. And the third part of her message is how healing nature is in this time. Like, she was showing me just how the ocean and being in the ocean all the time was like the best medicine for her. And that in this time where things feel bleak and chaotic and disconnected, that we have to get back into the healing forces of nature.
Yes. I was literally thinking as you were saying that, I was like, man, I gotta go connect with nature. And you just said, you were like, nature is. So I'm really feeling that deeply. And that is just always such a powerful source of connection. Something you said at the beginning really resonated with me too about music and community. And you and I shared this beautiful experience over my birthday where we came together with our community and we just danced for hours, and it was so joyful and magical to be with each other with music and moving our bodies. I cannot recommend that enough. And now one of my friends who was there has literally alone then has just been choosing a song and every night just or every day, I don't know when he does it, just dancing fully with abandon to that song. And so I think that's like a little something magical we can add into our life is like music, movement, community. It's so important.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I just have to say, too, with this person in spirit, whoever this is for, which, by the way, if you're new to the podcast, you might get what's called postcards, meaning similarities with your past loved one in spirit, which is for sure a little wink and a nod from them that they're tacking on some evidence that you could understand and that they're with you. But I felt like there would have been some sort of inside joke about seagulls with her. So I just had to share that in case it makes sense to whoever this is for. I feel like there was something like, because she kept showing me seagulls and it made me feel like I wanted to laugh. And I felt like there was some sort of inside joke with it. And I also have to say that one of her main signs is hummingbirds, which I really love too.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Well, it's no accident then that she came through to you with her message.
I know, and that it was for the hummingbird community too. Like, go where your heart is lit up. Don't try to make something that isn't your dream fit. And that goes into that playing judge and jury in our head over what our heart is asking for. And I know that this year Jupiter moves into Cancer, which is like expansion when it comes to our home and our inner world. And so I think dare to dream big. And I feel like there might be a lot of relocations and people dreaming about that.
Yeah, it's like, why put a limitation on our dreams? Why say that they need to be practical? We don't know what's possible. And when we open up to the possibilities being endless, we allow so much magic to come into our life. Like, we just don't know what's around the corner. So don't limit your dreams. Dream big and expect so many possibilities.
Yeah. And when I tap into people in the spirit world, they never regret going after their dreams. Like, I have an interesting perspective as a medium because I hear what people have to say once they've passed. And it's never, I wish that I stayed small. I wish that I didn't go after my dreams. It's, if anything, it's, I wish I did it sooner. I wish I trusted my heart sooner. I wish I told that person how I really felt. I wish I started that job. I wish I publish my work. It's have that bravery, step into that King of Wands. And it's really interesting too, and very synchronistic because so much ocean stuff is coming up. Like with this sitting with spirit, so much like water and ocean, like this spirit person coming through. But also, something I forgot to say is that when I was feeling into the angel messages, one of the first things I saw was this boat, like a sailboat, and it was like all the way on its side about to tip over. And it's almost like we're in this moment of, is the boat going to tip over or not? And I feel like this is a collective message. With that being said, there's also a message here about if it tips over, let it. There's something about we're all trying to keep things alive that maybe need to go. And sometimes we let these worst case scenarios of like the boat tipping over try to keep us like frantically trying to keep it upright, but maybe it just needs to tip over and maybe things need to spill out and maybe things need to be redone and maybe things need to be exposed. And so there's also a message here of if something is naturally falling away, let it. Don't exhaust yourself trying to fit a circle into a square peg.
Yeah, gosh, that's such a powerful lesson. And I think I've likened this with you to like the universe gives you gifts, and then you hold on so tight to that gift because you think there's not going to be another gift. And then you start to get dragged and allowing what is naturally happening. Even the boat tipping over sometimes can be the greatest gift of all. Like things come so unexpectedly. And so even when something seems really bad, sometimes there can be something so beautiful because of it. And staying open to that, I think really helps us.
Absolutely. And that's like, I love Colette Baron Reed's Oracle deck, Wisdom of the Hidden Realms. It's the main card deck that I read with. And their card, The Lady of the Gift, whenever I pull it, the message that I get is like you're holding on to something so tightly that your hand isn't open to receive something that wants to come in next. And so it's like trying to hold on to grains of sand. It's just not going to work. It's going to flip through your fingers. And so there's this feeling of just like keeping your hands open and letting things go that want to go and having an open space for the new that wants to come in and not trying too hard to like control or cling on or force.
Yes, that's a perfect way to describe it.
I feel a lot of magic this week too. There's so much duality in the energy. There's like this collective crown and throat block. There's this fear. There's this feeling like things are at a crashing point. And there's also this opportunity for like deeper connection, deeper magic, new opportunity. And so there's two currents simultaneously. And it's normal as a human being, as part of the collective, to feel both. And that's a good thing. We don't want to bury our heads in the sand. But try to be part of the creative force, not the destructive force.
Yes. Magic.
Magic, magic. We love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.